Those two had left me waiting once again. I scrolled an Urban Explorer forum I frequented and found nothing I hadn't seen before. One post did catch my eye though. It was a post about Wiseman Mine. A haunted gold mine said to be located somewhere on the edge of town. George Wiseman had died a rich man sometime in the 1800s. On his deathbed, he is said to have sworn to return and collect the rest of his gold from the earth. If anyone was to try and steal it from him, he further swore to strike them down and they would serve the mine in their death. It said if you're lost in the forest around Westbrook, you might hear him still digging beneath your feet. Finally, I saw headlights approaching through the trees and put my phone down. A red SUV pulled up beside me and a bearded man called out from the passenger seat. "Hey Skinny, we had to stop for gas." I'd given up trying to make them stick to a schedule years ago. I got out of the car and grabbed my bag. The other two did the same. We walked towards a gated fence surrounding an abandoned automotive factory. The bearded man, Hunter, bent down as we approached the fence with wire cutters in hand. The power was already off. Dave Hardwell died of a heart attack 30 or so years ago. No family came forward to claim his assets or his business. People stopped showing up for work. Nobody paid the bills and Dave's auto shop was left to be reclaimed by the forest. It only took a few minutes and we were soon walking through a courtyard overgrown with weeds and moss. The door to the factory itself was unlocked. Disassembled remains and skeletal frames of cars littered the factory floor. There was a hole in the ceiling. We slowly made our way through the room and onwards up a set of stairs that were once an emergency exit. We climbed them upwards and found the door to the roof locked. Thea held up her torch as Toolbox began unbolting the door. It didn't take long to get the door open. We stepped out onto the roof and beheld our prize. A beautiful view overlooking the whole town of Westbrook. We went back and forth pointing out sights we recognized in the light of street lamps below. We had planned this trip for a night without clouds. The stars lit up the night sky above us. We could see them better on the far side of the roof facing away from town. I pulled a few beers and some snacks from my bag. We all sat there looking up at the stars. We talked for hours. During a lull in conversation, I asked if either of them had heard of Wiseman Mine. Hunter told me he had no idea, but Thea gave me a knowing nod. She asked if I meant the haunted gold mine, and Hunter had a concerned look on his face at the word haunted. Naturally, I asked if he was scared of ghosts, and he said yes. Then I asked if he wanted to hear the story of Wiseman Mine. He hesitated but nodded. After the story, he had forgotten about the ghost and asked instead how much I thought the gold would be worth. We went back and forth for a while, arguing over how much it would be or how you would sell it in the first place. Thea had been quiet until now but spoke up now. She said she wanted to look for the mine. The conversation came to a halt and I looked at her. I laughed. Wiseman Mine was just a scary story. I told her this much after I had finished and she told me I was wrong. She said a trusted source mentioned rumors it was a few miles west of Barbers Avenue. I didn't believe her. Hunter said he was in. I expected her to laugh at him for falling for the joke. She just kept looking at me. When I didn't say anything, she said that she wasn't interested in the gold or the ghost story. She told me that she just wanted to find out if it was real. I realized so did I. I told her I was in. We planned to meet up 3 days from then and make our way out to look for the mine. The next day a storm blew in and didn't give up for the better part of the week. I used this time to research what I could find about Wiseman Mine. The supposedly real Wiseman Mine, not the ghost story people told. I found nothing helpful except for one article in a newspaper from 1902. A local man, Joshua Higgs, had died from falling into a collapsed mine shaft. The odd thing was, in the fall he had impaled something sharp struck through his skull. They said he was unrecognizable. Only the ID in his wallet identified him. It was ruled an accidental death and the mineshaft tunnel was filled over. At the end of the week the rain had passed. We started our search early at 6 a.m. The night before I had a strange dream. I woke up in my bedroom. There was no furniture inside except for my bed. I could hear something faintly. A repetitive banging. It was coming from downstairs. I woke up the next morning and shrugged it off as a strange dream. I got ready for the search and drove out to the start of Barbers Avenue. The other two were early. We drove for an hour. About halfway through the paved road gives way to packed dirt. Barbers Avenue led north in the opposite direction of the automotive factory. It ended in an interstate highway headed towards the coast. It was mostly woods and hills between us and there. I pulled out a map with a few locations circled that I thought looked good to search. Thea added a few more and we set off searching for George Wiseman's gold mine. Later that day we left the woods tired and bruised. I got bit by ants. Hunter got stung by a bee. We had covered half the ground we expected to and found nothing. 3 days of searching later we found it. It was late afternoon on the 4th day. We were heading back and a fallen tree trunk blocked our path. The dirt around its roots was sunken several feet into the ground in an odd pattern. I remembered the article I read a few days prior and pointed out the small sinkhole to the others. We all started to dig. The soil was still damp from the rain and it made the digging easier. 20 minutes later our shovels burst through into open space. Dirt piled into a mineshaft tunnel about 4 feet below us. The gap we could see through was small. The sun was starting to set and so we all prepared to return the following morning. That night I had the same strange dream. My bedroom empty. A faint banging noise from below. I went to go downstairs and investigate only to find the door to my room was locked. I put my ear to the floor. I listened to the noise. It sounded like metal being struck several stories beneath me. I could hear something crack under the weight of each blow. I woke up the next morning unnerved but soon forgot my strange dream as I prepared to explore Wiseman Mine. We never planned to go far. We just wanted a souvenir. A rusty pickaxe. A miner's helmet. Something like that. We got to the mine in the morning and began to dig a large enough gap for us to get in and out. The deeper we dug, the more stones we have to dig around and carry out ourselves. By afternoon, we had cleared a space slanting downward into the mineshaft. We made it inside. The walls were jagged stones, carved at odd angles, often slanted towards the ceiling. It was wide enough for the three of us to walk side by side. We only had one way to go and so followed the tunnel further down carefully. As we walked, there were often side passages that bent and twisted at odd angles. We came to a dead end. We made our way back towards the exit, taking our time to inspect the side passages more thoroughly. They must be the space left behind once the ore was mined. A few rocks sparkled in the torchlight. We could see markings of where a tool scratched the rock. Hunter found a nugget of gold ore. It was still embedded inside of one of these side passages walls. It was the size of an apple. He began to chip away at the rock. Small chips of stone fell to the ground around him. Some larger chunks snapped off. He finally pulled it free and a section of large stones underneath the ore cracked and each one hit the floor with a heavy thud. The ground shook. There was a rumbling.